Hello everyone. Welcome to this stream where we'll be talking about celebrating Ramanavami. Join us in exploring Valmiki Ramayan Balakanda, Sarga 25 onwards, Sri Rama's Vivaha, Vishwamitra's greatness, and Sita Mata's divine birth. Explore the divine union of Sri Rama and Sita Mata, the valor of Brahmarshi Vishwamitra, and Sri Rama's relentless battle against demons to safeguard his yagna. Discover the miraculous birth of Sita Mata, who is Ayonija, which means she is not born to a human mother, she is of divine origin. This year's date of Ram Navami is April 16th in the USA, Canada, West Indies, UK, and on April 17th in the Middle East, Africa, China, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Russia, Malaysia, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and Fiji. So embark on an enchanting voyage through Valmiki Ramayan's Balakanda, where the timeless tales of Sri Rama's divine marriage, Vishwamitra's sagehood, and Sita Mata's extraordinary birth unfold. Discover the essence of Ram Navami and the varied dates of celebration across the globe. Stay tuned with us as I play this intro for you. Welcome back. Let's invite, first of all, Pandit Mahesh Shastri ji, who is Panchang Siddhanti of mypanchang.com, and he prepares Panchangam calendars of 90% temples in the United States. Hello, Mahesh ji.
Pranam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Let's also invite Ishwar Tyagarajan ji, who is a student of Vedanta, Itihasa and Puranas for several years. He has had the blessing of learning Vedanta primarily from Sri Ramakrishna Mutt in Seattle. He has a deep interest in Advaita. He has been a student of Itihasa and Purana for more than 25 years.
Namaste.
Namaste, Ishwar ji.
Namaste, Shruti. Namaste, Mahesh ji.
Namaste.
All right, welcome to this live stream. Today we'll be talking about Sri Rama's Balakanda. I want to kick off this conversation first by asking you, Ishwarji, how the Valmiki Ramayan is organized. Even before that, let's start with a shloka.
Oh, yes. Okay. Om Namo Vakratundaya. Om Namo Vakratundaya. Om Namo Vakratundaya. Hayagriva, 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 Hayagriva. Kojantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shaka Vande Valmiki Kokilam Buddhir Balam Yashoderiam Nirbayatvam Marogada Ajadyam Vakpatutvam Cha Hanumat Smaranat Bhaved Om Yasya Shri Hanuman Anugrahavala Dhirna Buddhir Leelayad Lanka Prabhya Nisama Ramataitam Tangtvavanam Rakshasan Akshatin Vinihatya Vikshadashakam Daktva Purim Dhammanah Dhiranaptihi Kaviviryuto Yamanamatam Ramachandram Bhaje Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Arihi Om Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri
Jai Sita Mata.
Jai Sita Mata.
So yeah, that's a very good way of kicking off the proceedings, right? It's a very good way. Let's think about this. Valmiki Ramayana is, in popular tradition, it is of 24,000 shlokas.
Okay.
Generally considered to be of 7 books. Each book is called a kanda, like Balakanda, like that. So Balakanda,
Kandas, because
yeah. Like we start off with Balakanda, then we have Ayodhya Kanda, Aranya Kanda, Kishkinda Kanda, Sundara Kanda, then Yuddha Kanda, where we have Ravana's Vadam, right? Then there is Uttarakanda, which is the 7th one. So that is the in tradition. Now the Itihasa Ramayana is organized into, let's think of each Kanda as a book or volume. So 7 volumes. Each volume, if it is like a book, it will have chapters in it, right? The chapters are called sargas.
Okay.
So there is always a sarga. In every sarga, you notice like there are many sargas that are, for example, Sundarakanda is so popular throughout the world that people take certain sargas for certain benefits for their life. Somebody says if the relatives have been separated, they have to come together. Then they will say in Sundarakanda, 36th sarga, Parayana has to be done. 36th chapter, like that. So within the sarga, which is chapter, obviously the whole thing is in the form of a poetry, right? Everything is a shloka. So you love shloka. So when we say Ramayana has 24,000 shlokas, that is effectively the summation of all the shlokas across all the kandas and all the sargas in all the kandas. You put them all together, you get to 24,000.
Okay. And just to clarify for our audience today that Valmiki Ramayan, when we talk about Valmiki Ramayan, it is itihasa, which means that Swami Valmiki was present when he witnessed all of this and then he documented this in a form of Valmiki Ramayan as a shlokas. Is
Correct.
that
That is a very fair description. If you look at Balakanda itself, you will notice that the Balakanda starts off with tapaswadhyaya neratam tapasvi vakvidambaram with that shloka. There, Narada, Devarshi Narada, and Adikavi they meet. And
Mhm.
there, Valmiki asks Narada Muni, is there anybody in this world who exemplifies these wonderful qualities? And he lists 16 wonderful qualities.
Mhm.
So, when in some sense, Ramayana is actually giving birth to itself, as it were, within the book. So,
Yeah.
there is a conversation right at the beginning, and
Mhm.
the conversation flows.
Mhm.
And in the conversation, Narada does Sankshepa Ramayana. And the first Sarga of Balakanda is a very long Sarga, which means lot of slokas.
Mhm.
The entire Ramayana is actually encapsulated in a very, very summarized form. So you go through that. So in some ways, Narada Muni tells the Ramayana to Valmiki, and Valmiki is like amazed and overwhelmed by that. So
Mhm.
as he is walking on the Tamasa Nadi with his Sishya Bharadwaja walking besides him, then he gets the prerana which comes out in the form of a shloka.
Okay.
Okay. Then, so to answer your question, Valmiki Ramayana is unique in the sense some of the events have already happened
Mhm.
before Valmiki Mahamuni begins to write. Some
Mhm.
of the events are happening when he's witnessing them. Some
Okay.
of the events are even told in a very predicated fashion about future. So
Okay.
Valmiki Ramayana has tenses in
Mhm.
past, in present, and in future.
Okay.
So it's a
Okay.
very beautiful thing. But itihasa means this is how it happened.
Yeah. It's
That's how we
somewhere
take
where I can say I witnessed it and this is how
it.
it happened.
Yeah, in
Okay.
some sense, it is not like the word history of the
Mhm.
Western people because the word history has a certain note taking quality to it. It is not interested too much in your spiritual welfare, as it were. And
Mhm.
also, the quality of the people who recorded the history is not well known, but we know what kind of a Maharishi Adikavi was.
Yeah.
We know what kind of a Rishi Vedavyasa was when he wrote Mahabharata. So,
Correct.
the writer himself is a Rishi, he's
Mhm.
a Trikala Jnani, and
Mhm.
the purpose of studying Itihasa gives us Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha.
Gotcha.
So just calling it history would be to shortchange the whole thing, right? It's a
Yeah.
very big deal. Yeah, correct.
And sometimes I feel like languages also don't have direct words for translations in a way. And so it gets kind of lost in translation a little bit. But to kick off this today's conversation, I also want to ask about we said like the book was divided in 7 volumes, and the first volume is Balakanda. So what is Balakanda about?
Okay, so as I had said, Narada Mahamuni introduces
Mhm.
this, plants the seed in Adikavi, and that emerges in the form of the Ramayana itself. So in
Mhm.
some sense, Ramayana happens in a little bit of a flashback. So
Okay.
around this time, Sita Mata has been dropped off in the forest, and the Lava and Kusha are there. So they are learning Ramayana directly from Valmiki, and they're going back to Ayodhya and they're chanting it. All of this is also played out. But
Mhm.
essentially, Balakanda, as the word itself suggests, is how Sri Rama's birth, the events leading to his birth, like the
Mhm.
Putra Kameshti Yaga and everything, and then how they all grew up, and how Brahmarshi Vishwamitra comes there. He takes them on this, I would say, very spiritual journey.
Mhm.
It is spiritual for Rama and also for us. So
Mhm.
he goes on this journey, and at the completion of this journey, at the end of Balakanda, is the Sita Rama Vivaha. So this is essentially Balakanda.
Okay. So we'll today be talking about, starting from 25th Sarga, which, as you explained earlier, is 25th chapter. And then we'll be going all the way to the end of Balakanda today.
Correct. See, it's a very, in some sense, it's a very hard thing to finish in the next 1 hour or so,
Mhm.
right? But what
Mhm.
we will try to do is we will try to get into a mood, a
Mhm.
bhavam, where we are relaxed and we are trying to watch this in our mind's eye as the story plays along. It's a very, very simple storytelling and listening session. And the beauty is everybody knows the story. Right?
Yes.
And yet it feels fresh. One
Yes.
of the definitions of the word Purana that Adi Shankara gives in Gita Bhashyam is that which is ancient and yet ever fresh.
Yes, that's
So
true.
in that sense, this is a Purana or a Itihasa. This Itihasa is a Purana, I can say.
Okay, so let's talk about 25th chapter. What happens in the 25th chapter as explained by Rishi Valmiki?
Yes, correct. So just I'll take a little bit step back and then come back to 25th chapter so that there will be a continuity in narration. So we know that Brahmarshi Vishwamitra comes to Ayodhya Rajasabha and asks for Rama, basically. So that he is saying that I have a yagna sankalpa. Some asuras are doing vignam to this. So I want Rama to come and protect the yagna.
Okay.
Dasharatha is like petrified. He's saying, how will I send such a young boy for such a task, right?
Yeah.
And then Vashishta and Brahmarshi, Guru Vashishta and Brahmarshi convince Dasharatha that this is the right thing to do and good thing to do. And Dasharatha happily sends Rama. But when he sends him with the instruction that you should look upon Brahmarshi as you would look upon me.
Mhm.
So in that sense, a Guru Sishya Sambandha is created between Rama and Brahmarshi, right?
Mhm.
And of course, Rama's shadow is Lakshmana, right? I mean, there's no, if it's Surya, then Lakshmana Swami is Chandra. So
Chandra.
together they go with Brahmarshi and the
Okay.
whole journey continues. So in fact, one of the description is that when Brahmarshi is leaving Ayodhya, there's pin drop silence everywhere. Like nobody is talking. Like that, he has such an exterior that people look at him, they're all like very, very venerated and very silent. But once they cross the Sarayu Nadi, he turns around like a grandfather calling out for his grandkids, right? That much love and affection. He says, Rama, he says, Rameti Madhura Vanim. He says, and then immediately the kids run and sit in Swami's lap. And then the whole Anubandha between Rama Lakshmana and Brahmarshi is a beautiful thing. It literally takes them into his tutelage. Okay, so first he gives them the Bala Atibala mantra. These are called mantra grama, a collection of mantras. By getting these mantras, actually Brahmarshi says that no thirst, no weapons, nothing can harm you mentally or physically. Even if you are not vigilant, nothing can attack you. So he
Okay.
gives them that level of assurance and prepares them. And then the 25th Sarga is like approaching. One thing is there before the 25th Sarga, one thing we should all remember is in the 23rd Sarga, the famous sloka Kausalya Supraja Rama Purva Sandhya
Sandhya
Pravartate
Pravartate.
Tishta Narshardurla Kartavyam Devamahnikam comes in 23rd Sarga. So again, Kausalya Supraja Rama. Hey Rama, by whose birth Kausalya Mata became Supraja. He is referring to Rama with the memory of that event, the divine event which gave us Sri Ramachandra, right? Not just Kausalya Matra, even for us. Kausalya Supraja Rama. This comes in, of course, Venkatesha Suprabhadam. This sloka has been inserted and it is used in the Purvabhaga. So he says that, and the reason I also brought this sloka up, not only because it's a delightful sloka which is very familiar to anybody, is the message of Purva Sandhya Pravartate. There's a constant refrain in Ramayana, especially in Balakanda, where the kids are listening to various stories from Brahmarshi. They go to bed late, so to speak. They listen to the story and they sleep, doze off, and they have to wake up way before the sunrise. And Brahmarshi will wake them up to do Sandhya Vandana. Similarly, in the evening Sandhya Vandana. Sometimes when a Sarga is finishing, Sarga will have a story like Ganga Avataranam,
That was Brahma Muhurta, right?
Brahma Muhurta. And similarly, in the evening, Maheshji, as the day is, as the Sarga is finishing, the Sarga will be talking about some story. But then there will be one sloka and then say, okay, evening time came, everybody paused and did Sandhya Vandana. So why should Adi Kavi insist upon this? It is the importance of Sandhya Vandana that everybody should be following.
Yeah. One question I have here for you, Ishwarji, or even also you, Maheshi, or whoever you can you can choose. But what is Sandhya Vandana? Why is it so important in Valmiki Ramayana?
It is not actually in Valmiki Ramayana. Every person should do Sandhya Vandanam. The importance of Sandhya Vandanam is basically, see, we get all energy through sun, right? So sun is health, right? Even in astrology. So that is one of the reasons. The energy we get, the ojas we get is from sun. And it is also said that if you don't do Sandhya Vandanam and do any puja, that puja will be failed. So
Okay.
that's why in pretty much people who do not do Sandhya Vandanam, priest, your family priest will know and will say like little bit like close your eyes and chant just to basic Sandhya Vandanam 11 times, chant Gayatri Mantra, do
Yeah.
Sarga Surya Argyam. You know, there Sandhya Vandanam has got like lot of things, the Mashanam and lot of other things, but the basic thing they will do it. Like so also the Sandhya Vandanam also means you have to do Sankalpa, you have to recite the 5 elements, what is today's Vara, Tithi, Nakshatra, Yoga, Karana. Tithi reciting will give you prosperity. And so Vara will give you Ayush, like health. So likewise, there is got benefit. And for that, you can look, there will be somewhere link up here for Panchanga Shravanam video. This mantra is clearly explained there. So take a look at that. But it has got multiple meaning. And there are Trikalas Sandhya. Basically,
I was about to ask because in Marathi, Sandhya is evening. So somehow we say Sandhya Kal means evening, right? So I thought only evening you're worshipping the
that
gods.
is Apabranch means from Sayankala. Sayankala is Apabranch becomes Sandhya in, but Sandhya is basically join, Madhyana Sandhya, Purva Sandhya, like the Prata Sandhya, which is like morning, where the joints between
Morning and afternoon.
Ratri and
Divas.
Dina, and then Madhyana and Aprana. The Aprana means later part of the day. Like Madhyana Sandhya is nothing but the joint of Purvahanam and Aprahanam. Sayankal is nothing but the Aprahanam and Pradosha. So the Ratri Kala. So that's what the Sandhya. And every joint you need to worship God,
Got it.
Surya Deva, rising up on the head and going down.
Down.
So that is thanking sun for giving us light, for that food, water, everything. With the sunlight, if you take, like, you will get a lot of vitamin D and all. We can bring our Dr. Sodi, like
Yes.
sometimes, and discuss the benefit of sun. But that is so to thank sun, basically, that's
That
what the
is Sandhya
Sandhya
Vandanam.
Vandanam.
Okay. And so about
And
Ishwar,
Ishwar can
Hey,
shed more light on from
I'll
his
just
point of
add
view.
and add on top of it is that Sandhya Vandana as a Kritu is a Vedic Kritu. You have Pramana for it in like Taitri Aranyaka and all these Veda mantras where people have looked at sun as a pratika for Brahman or Purnavastu. The idea there is at Adi Bhautika level, Sandhya Vandana has its benefits, and Maheshji has talked a lot about this, right? At Adi Daivika level, there is a Buddhi Prachotanam that takes place. Your intellect is inspired, and then you start thinking about the higher aspects of life. So that is Adi Daivika level. At Adhyatmika level, the ultimate purpose of life is to recognize that one infinite truth by knowing which everything else becomes known. Like in Mundaka Upanishad, there is a mantra which says, Kasmin Bhagavo Vijñāte Sarvamidam Vijñātam Bhavati. What is that? By knowing which everything else is known.
Okay.
That alone will give us Purnatvam. Otherwise, we will have Alpa Jnanam. We will know something. When you say I know something normally in our life, it only means that I don't know a lot of everything else. So,
Yes.
but what is that by knowing which everything? So that bhavam or that jnanam or aikya anusandanam is also possible within Sandhya Vandanam. So giving argyam, like Maheshji said, way before sunrise, right? And then doing aikya anusandanam, being recognizing oneness with the infinite, then chanting of the Gayatri mantra, where mantra itself is treated as devata, with that bhavam, right? With sarupya bhavam, you are chanting the mantra. All of these are important parts of Sandhya Vandana. And like I said, it's done 3 times a day, which means in those 3 times a day, you have nothing else to do. You are only committed to this. So that itself gives you a certain level of raksha or protection in your life. Otherwise, it's evening time. Okay, let's go out somewhere. No. First finish Sandhya Vandana before you go out somewhere.
Got it.
So it gives you the niyamam also in your life.
And like I always say in any of my pujas, we are half a chromosome away from chimpanzee. So likewise, the actual puja is like yoga chittavritti tirodha, to feel oneness, But so that is the whole purpose of Sandhya Vandanam. And any puja for that matter. But we cannot do that. When you close your eyes, you feel like 10,000 thoughts, right? So that's why we have to do this process, what we call as Sandhya Vandanam, mantra japa, to find one with the one entity. You may call God, Paramatma, Rama, Lakshmana, Sita, whomever you want to project as your true God,
Yeah.
So that is what is to reach that adhyatmic level. So
Okay. So I understood Sandhya Vandana. Now let's go back to Valmiki Ramayan and see how Brahmarshi proceeds from there.
Yeah. Can you start sharing the file, Shruti, we can use that as a alambana.
Yes.
Yeah, so Shankaracharya picture is there, which is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram. Om Namah Shivaya. Very good.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So we have taken Bhagavan Shiv's name, which is makes Lord Ram very happy, right?
Yeah.
And like I said in my previous stream, there are many discussions going on Ramayana. One of them was with Shiva also. Shiva was telling Ramayana, so to
Mhm.
Agastya and others. So
Correct, correct. So now we can go to the next slide.
Mhm.
So this slide again is just a glimpse. It's the way this slide or this whole thing is organized.
Mhm.
The picture says that from Google Maps we have taken it, and there's a journey. I put some numbers in the map. So today we'll try to touch upon some of the destinations today,
Mhm.
which will culminate in Janakpur, which is
Mhm.
where the Vivaham will take place of Sita Rama. So I am showing that from Ayodhya, Brahmarshi is walking, and Sri Rama and Lakshmana are following him. Right, that's how the story proceeds. So if you
Mhm.
go to the next slide.
Yeah.
And yes, and then when you come to the next slide, this is where you know that the near the Sarayu Ganga confluence, right? In Dakshina Tata of Sarayu only, they are like they took that Bala Ati Bala mantra, they went to sleep and they're waking up in the morning, and that's when Kausalya, Supraja, Rama, Purva, Sandhya, Pravartate comes,
Mhm.
and then so that is near what is today's Azamgarh
Mhm.
in the map, you know, roughly somewhere there. Then if
Mhm.
you go one step to the next slide.
Mhm.
Okay, now we are like you know there's Kamashramam story is there. So basically, what happens now is that
Mhm.
in the 23rd Sarga itself, they start walking and they reach a place where the mind becomes free from desires.
Mhm.
Then immediately, Sri Rama is such a sensitive and evolved spiritually person, right? Not emotionally sensitive, but spiritually sensitive.
Mhm.
That he comes to that place and the tanmataras of the place immediately inspire his intellect. And he says, Kasya ayam ashramah punyo, gonu asmin vasate puman. Which great Mahatma has lived here, Bhagavan? He says, Bhagavan, that's how he's addressing his guru. See how one addresses one's guru, Bhagavan, right? Hey, Bhagavan, Shrotum Ichaha Param Kautuhilam Mehe. I have Parama Kautuhalam, like great interest to Kutuhalata to actually know about this place. Then the whole Kama Dahana story is being told by Brahmarshi. How
Mhm.
Devas and Asuras were fighting, Tarakasura's Vadam was necessary, then Shiva Parvati Vivaham has to take place, but Parameshwara is showing no interest in Parvati Devi, he's like Tapo Nimagnaha. Then they send Kamadeva to shoot his 5 arrows. He tries, he fails, and Swami with his Jnana Agni burns Kamam to Basmam. From that day, he became Ananga, which means he
Mhm.
didn't have any Deha.
Mhm.
So, since he didn't have any Deha, he became Ananga. That Desham where this happened, that Pradesham, was called Anga Desha.
Okay.
So, for example, in Mahabharata, when Karna comes into that scene in that convocation ceremony, when he like breaks into he crashes the party, and
Mhm.
Duryodhana basically forms his kinship, so to speak, with Karna, and he says, "I'll give you the Angadesha, and you can be the Raja of Angadesha." Right? That Angadesha reference we see in Valmiki Ramayana, and the
Okay.
word came from the place that it is here that
Mhm.
Kamadeva was burned to ashes
Okay.
in our nation. I mean, in
it
Bharat.
is present day West Bengal, actually, the whole
Okay.
Bengal area present day. And the Azamgarh original name seems to be Fulpur. There are two cities, but
Okay.
that's where the Fulpur was. And yes, so those are the where the Angadesha is basically where the present day West Bengal, right?
Okay.
Seems
I
like
mean,
that.
I used certain references, Mahesh ji, from whatever
Mhm.
was available, and then I made this map based on this. I
Mhm.
mean, I have not taken this route directly from a book, so I cannot quote it that way because it is my inference based on my studies. So you're right, actually. There may be some inaccuracies here, but for the purposes of our narration today, this is a very good alambanam because it gives us
Yes.
something to hold on to even as we journey through this map.
Yes.
Like we are basically going from Ayodhya to, from
Janak.
Mithila, right, or Janakpur, right?
Mhm.
So yeah,
Well, right now, okay, so I will stand corrected well, you are also correct in a way. In olden days, this Patna and all those was part of the same thing, right? Was the
Mhm.
same area, part of the Angadesha. So now, because now because Britishers split it up, right?
correct.
So that's why it is. So, but Now it shows in somewhere around Bihar, but Bihar was a later name, right? Original was Angad Desha, the whole thing.
Correct. Okay, so coming back to this Kamadeva story, just one comment I will say before we move on to Sarayu Nadi is that what Kamadeva could not achieve with his 5 arrows and all his skills and wiles, after marriage, Parvati Devi could achieve it with a single smile, right? In Lalita Sahasranama, it says Mandasmita Prabhapura Majjat Kame Samanasa. Ammavar's Mandasmita, slightest smile, filled Swami's heart with bliss, it seems, right? And then what happened? Shiva Kameshwarangasta, Shiva Swadhina Vallabha. She literally took control of Swami itself. Ramana Maharshi used to joke that in the English word she, right? S-H-E, he is included in she, right?
Yes,
So
that's
like that in Bhagavati, everything is included. That's the idea. I mean, of course, I'm giving a very Shakta perspective of the story.
true.
So that continues. Then beautifully again, it finishes, and the evening, what happens again? They do Sandhya Vandana. Wake up in the morning, they do Tatah Prabhate Vimale Krita Ahanikam Marindamo. So the both Rama and Lakshmana, they did Purva Sandhya again for next day morning. So they leaving Kamashrama, and then suddenly they encounter the the Sarayu is flowing, right? They've already crossed the Sarayu. Then question about Sarayu arises. Then Brahmarshi clarifies the origin of the Sarayu river. He says, Kailasha Parvate Rama Manasa Nirmitam Param Brahmana Narashardula Tena Idam Manasam Saraha. From Manasa Saras, which was created out of the Sankalpa Balam of Brahma, Hiranyagarbha. From there flows this river, which is the Sarayu of here. He says. So this Sarayu river is linked to that Kailash Manasarovar Prantam. So that is again another beautiful reference that is given in Valmiki Ramayana. And then they come to a point where Ganga Mata is merging with Sarayu river at some point. So the confluence of the two rivers are saying, then immediately Brahmarshi is saying, salute them, do namaskaram. So they are like on the board, they are doing namaskaram to the confluence. See how natural Valmiki Ramayanam is.
Yeah.
Valmiki Ramayanam, everywhere divinity is witnessed. But then you have to also remember that it takes jnanis to recognize that kind of a stuff. That is where Brahma Rishi and our Rishi Sampradayam also comes. So we should not only salute those rivers, Sri Rama and Brahma Rishi, we should also mentally salute the Rishi Sampradayam, which is given us Valmiki Ramayana. Right?
Yes.
That is a very nice thing that happens. Then they walk further, and then suddenly, if you go to the next slide. Yeah, correct. This is the slide. You can just keep it for a couple of seconds, and even as I'm talking, you can take it off, Shruti. The idea here is, as we go down further on this path, they enter a very dark forest. That forest has some, it's like a force field of negativity there. Rama comes there, and immediately he explaining. Then he feels it. Then Vishwamitra Brahmarshi also realizes that Rama is feeling that. He says, "Oh, Vanam Idam Durgam." He says, it's like a fortress. Then he talks about the Tataka Purva Vriddanta. He says there was a Yaksha named Suketu and all that. So some of this Maheshji touched upon last time. So we are entering the 25th Sarga here. Then he says they did Rishi Aparada to Agastya, and Agastya Bhagavan gave them a Shapam. Because of the Shapam, they became Rakshasas and Rakshasis. So this Yakshini actually had two children, Maricha and Subahu. And they also were full-time preoccupied in only harassing all spiritual people. That was their vasana, right? See, the one thing we have to think about in the story is sometimes some of these origin stories you see, they'll be born just like normal people. But due to some dushkarma or due to some dussanga or due to some durvasana, they will turn and they'll go the other way around. And then you will be thinking, array, what happened, right? See, like human birth is so rare. Like Durlabham Narajanmam. Shastram says again. In spite of it, we flip and we make all these mistakes. And then our life goes completely in a different direction, right? So Tataka is also like that. Because Tataka was born to her father, because her father, Suketu, did tapas to Brahmadeva. She was born after a lot of tapas. And yet, this kind of a Rakshasi she became. So this is something for us to be alert in our life, that our
And
ashrama,
he wanted a son, but Brahma purposely did not give a son, thinking if son give, it will do a lot of bad things.
Yeah, correct. And then Maricha, Subahu are born, and they are the ones who are actually, are going to affect the yagna sankalpa of Brahmarshi. But now Tataka is there. But then Brahmarshi also says, but remember Rama, do not hesitate, because some of the Dharma Shastras clearly say that they clearly say that Kshatriya duty is to protect everybody. You should not just go around killing, especially killing women who are is something looked down upon in the Sampradaya. So Brahmarshi knows Rama may have that doubt. Brahmarshi gives Shastra Pramana to saying how when people don't exemplify the qualities that make a Nari or a Stri who she is, then they don't have to be seen that way. So that is the interpretation of the name given. In fact, that whole Shapam, that Brigu's Bharya, Vadam, and all those stories are being told actually. So he's inspiring them, saying you can do the right thing. Your loyalty is not to just Kshatriyatvam, which is your Swadharma, which is good. But think about the larger Dharma. Right? Larger Dharma is to protect the whole creation. Right? From that standpoint, you have to make your decision. So he teaches him how to come out of the Dharma Sankata. And Sri Rama says, Pitur Vachanam Nirdeshat, Pitur Vachanam Gauravat, Vachanam Kaushikasya iti Kartavyam Avishankayaha. He says, when this kind of an order coming from parents means it is not coming from parents. I'm going to do it. And I don't see any, basically what he's saying is, I don't see any difference between you and my father Dasharatha. This is exactly what Dasharatha taught him. He's exactly following that. And the bhakti, the Sishyatvam is there with Brahmarshi. And he's saying that if you ask me to do something, it is my duty and I don't have any doubts in performing my duty. So immediately he discharges his duty, Tataka Vadam takes place.
Okay.
So this is the very interesting thing. So once that happens, Brahmarshi is extremely happy, seeing how Rama did not hesitate in the moment of truth. So see, people can learn many things. When the time to apply it comes, people, if they start shaking, then it means they may have knowledge, but they don't have the right kind of willpower to execute. Right?
Correct.
That is why in Lalita Sahasranama, Jagan Mata is called Ichcha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti Swarupini. So you need Ichcha, Kriya, Jnanam. You need to be Sampanna in all the three for you to be able to do Daiva Karyam. Right?
Correct.
So here we can see Sri Rama is Paripurnam. So that's why he is able to execute that. Right? So next day morning, he has already given them Bala Atibala Mantram, right? Now he is giving them all the Divyastras that he has at his Adhyanam. Whatever Adhyanam he has done of all the Divya. Adhyanam means whatever mantras he has received from Parameshwara, all those mantras, which are basically Astras, which are nothing but Devatas, who are children of Kashyapa Prajapati. About 47 Devatas, I think, are mentioned in that Sarga. And they are all given as mantras. And Sri Rama receives, ask me.
Yeah, I have a question here. So this is very like when I was growing up and I was hearing stories from my grandmom, right? This was a very common theme that the guru deems you eligible for, they think that you are now ready or you're ready to take on that responsibility. So they bestow upon these astras on you. What does it exactly mean? Like, does it mean that, Brahmarshi gave him the ways to make, like, astra in my mind is somehow a weapon.
Yes.
So does he give them like something to make those weapons, or he gives them the weapons themselves? What does it mean?
So basically, the two words you would have heard a lot in India. One is Shastra, another is Astra.
Astra.
Shastra is the weapon that you hold in your hand when you go to battle. That could be like a kadgam, like a spear, or anything like that, or gada, right? But when it say Astra is mantravachi. So Astra is essentially the secret recipe of Astra is not any material weapon as much as it's a spiritual power. So it's a mantra. That like any mantra, there's a mantra adhishtana devata, there is a chandas in which the mantra is chanted, right? So Sri Rama receives mantras is how you should take. See, for example, in Sundarakanda, there's a story of Kakasura. When Kakasura was troubling Sita Mata in the forest, that time Rama becomes very angry and he takes a darba, like just a blade of grass. He charges that with Brahmastra.
Okay.
Which means darba itself becomes a weapon. So how? In what sense? Because the mantra is present there, it endows that Shakti to that blade of grass.
Okay.
For example, if somebody may come with a big weapon, like a metal weapon, the other person may have a blade of grass, but if the blade of grass has the mantra Shakti behind it, it is more powerful than all the weapons put together.
Got it.
So that is the problem with which we should
So
do.
Shatras you take in your hand, you usually and fight with. Astra, basically you can take anything put the power of it. Like it can be arrow, it can be missile, it can be anything.
Blade
Just
of
throw
grass.
it, make a darba, and throw it. That's what.
Okay. And one more question I had here was we all know that in Balakand, as the name suggests, Sri Ram was very young, right? And when Brahmarshi is giving him all these astras or mantras related to them. So my question here is Sri Rama is obviously an incarnation of Vishnu, and he probably will not sway from his path. But if it is given to someone so young and at later point they want to misuse it or something like that happens, of course not in case of Sri Ram, but otherwise, how does that, like, how does the guru then decide
See, it's
whom
a
to
very, very good question, because this is not just a question on weapons, Shruti. You have asked a question which is very spiritual, actually, because we have just established that astras are mantras, right?
yeah
So another way of
makes so much
asking is,
power.
to whom should mantras be given?
Yeah.
It's another way of asking this question too. It's a very, very nice way of asking. In fact, we see this example quite, the adhikaritvam of the upasaka.
Mhm.
What kind of a prerequisites, what kind of a tapas, what kind of a sheelam does
Mhm.
the upasaka have is taken into account by the guru, and then only the mantra is usually given. But
Mhm.
we have also known some unique stories, right? For example, in the case of Ashwatthama, Acharya Drona had given Arjuna the Brahmashiras,
Mhm.
seeing Arjuna's tapoviryam, I would say, his
Mhm.
Kshatriyata, and also his self-control. But
Mhm.
Ashwatthama was not given that astra. But Ashwatthama literally begs and puts emotional pressure on
Wants
his
it.
father, and he gets it, right?
Yeah.
So when the final, after the 18th day of the battle and everything, when Ashwatthama releases that Brahmastra, right, or
Mhm.
the Brahmashiras or Brahmastra, Arjuna also releases it to counter that. Bhagavan
Mhm.
Vyasa comes in between and stops it. We have seen this in B.R. Chopra Mahabharata also, they show, right? He comes in the sky and he stops both astras, right?
Yeah.
So we see that. So at that moment, Brahmarshi, Bhagavan Vyasa basically asks Arjuna to withdraw his astra.
Mhm.
See, releasing an astra requires a certain level of tapas in you. You
Yeah.
should add that tapa punyam to be able to discharge and also to withdraw.
Okay.
Means you should have that spiritual potency in you, that virium, to be able to do that. In
Mhm.
Ashwatthama's case, whatever virium was left, most of it was destroyed because of his anger and dvesham and asuya. So that
Mhm.
itself loses, people lose a lot of spiritual potency.
Mhm.
Whatever little was left, he used it to release the astra. But then he says, I'm completely like empty. I can't withdraw it back. See, this is
Yeah.
a classic case of an anadhikari
Yeah.
receiving a mantra because of which a durupayogam is taking place.
Yeah.
You asked a good question. So these things have to be taken into account before the mantras are given. So that
Okay.
is something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so that makes sense. And Brahmarshi deems that Sri Rama is capable of that. And also Lakshman also, right? Sri
Yes,
Lakshman
also
also.
Lakshmana. The other aspect is, like you said it very correctly, he's Avatara Purusha.
Mhm.
In fact, it was Brahma Rishi's duty to prepare Sri Rama for rest of the Ramayana.
Okay.
Right? He does two things which are very, very important for Ravana's Vadam. What are
Mhm.
the two things? He gives him all the astra with, like all the jnanam. Second
Mhm.
thing is marriage with Sitama. He
Yeah.
does those two things. In some sense, he's setting the story up,
Yeah.
because everything else is a consequence of this only.
Yeah. That's
Right?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So this happens, and all the Devata Swarupams, they come before Sri Rama.
Mhm.
Sri Rama bows down to all the Devatas, and he very humbly requests to them, saying that may you all be internalized within me.
Mhm.
And at the time of my need, when I think of you, you should appear before me.
Mhm.
So see the way these astras and the person who's wielding the relation. It's a relation of uh, a devata and a upasaka,
Mhm.
right? And since this upasaka is a uttama adhikari, the devatas will listen to the upasaka
Mhm.
when the time comes for them to do the satkarya.
Mhm.
Right? So that's the bhavam with which we should see this. So
Yeah.
this story, Tataka story takes place. You can maybe show the map again and flip to the next slide. We are going to Siddhashrama now.
Okay.
Yeah. So Siddhashrama, in the diagram I'm showing is about stage 4 in the
Mhm.
whole plot. It's near Buxar, right? So
Mhm.
the idea of Siddhashrama is, again, Sri Rama comes there. After
Mhm.
the Tataka Vanam, by the way, the whole forest environment changes.
Mhm.
Suddenly, it's almost like the spring season has come up. It's like that kind of a fragrance is there.
Mhm.
Because all the Papa Vasana Tanmatras have left the place with Tataka's Vanam and with Sri Rama's Agamanam. Right? Now they walk into Siddhashrama and immediately Sri Rama's heart becomes, it like blooms actually. He says, what is this space? I am Siddha. Then he says, what is this place? My heart is blooming with joy. Then this says, this is the place where the birth of Vamana took place. And then the whole story of that Bali Chakravarti, Vamana Avataram, everything is being told by Brahmarshi. He says, I am Siddhashramo Nama Prasada Te Bhavishyati. This is known as Siddhashrama, right? And then Bali Chakravarti story, we all know this. Bali Chakravarti is the grandson of Prahlada, right? And his only dosha was in his ahankara, which comes from kartrutvam. See, sometimes what happens is when good things happen to us in his life, in our lives, we often, I'm talking about people who believe in God, I'm saying. Not even, people don't believe in God, let's not even bring them into the discussion here, right? Even Astika Samajam, when something good happens to us, we say, by Ishwaranugraham, it happened, right? But when bad things happens, we often say things like, why is God testing me? Why is this happening to me, right? What does this mean? This means we judge spirituality with the favorable outcomes that it gives us in our lives.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a tendency somewhere inside us, right? The tendency is that. In Bali Chakravarti also, the tendency was there. It took on a little bit crystallized form. It became a little bit more solid. The Kartrutvam became like a klesham. Bhagavan said, he's such a Mahatma. He has great bhakti. Yet, this Kartrutva bhakti is completely become an like a shield, is covering up. So it's become a barrier between him and me. The only way for me to dispel him of this ajnana is to take away everything that I've given to him. Then he will realize what Sharanagati really means, right? So with that bhavam, that whole Leela unfolds. Swami comes, Trivikrama Swami, we know that the Veda Prasiddha avataram. Comes and he, after measuring the world with 2 steps, in the 3rd step, he says, where should I put? He says, Padam Tritiyam Kuru Sirshini Me Nijam. Please put your feet on my head, Bali Chakravarti says. Right? And he says, by your anugraham, I have been forcibly brought under your control. See, think about the beauty of this thing. Forcibly, in Tamil, there is a word called Taduthu Atkollal. In Tamil, Atkollal. Atkollal means to take control. Taduthu means preventing the force of my prarabdha. You have taken control of me. Because my prarabdha was I was drifting away from you, thinking I am devoted to you. See, that's the worst thing. People can drift away from Parameshwara without knowing it. Sometimes we think, no, we are devoted to God. But our kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam, ragam, dvesham, these are still in us. And how can we think? We are drifting away, we just don't know. But what Swami does is he intervenes in our lives and takes control. So like that, Bali Chakravarti's life, he comes and he takes control. Like Durlabam Narajanmam, Daiva Anugraha Hetukam, Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshrayah. Viveka Chudamani, Bhagavad Pada says. Manushyatvam, Manishi Vivekina iti Abhipraya, knowing Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekam. Mumukshutvam, intense desire for seeking God and getting, like being one with Him or being liberated from this life. Mahapurusha Samshrayah. See, getting the company of Mahatmas. Bali Chakravarti in his life has had the company of all these 3 things he has had. Yet he was almost going in the wrong direction, and Swami came and made sure, no, don't worry, why fear when I am here, right? So he comes and takes him over. But anyway, this whole story is being told. And then and Swami, like in Bhagavatam, Narayana himself says, Nayam Tyajati Satyavak. See, he never gave up truth. Bali Chakravarti, for that ahankara that he may have had, that I am the doer and all that, he is a very truthful person. Truthful as in Satyavak Paripalana.
Honest, like Harishchandra.
Yeah. So Swami praises him, right? So anyway, Brahmarshi brought him there. Why? The goal was to do yagam there. That was his destination, to bring him there. So he comes there, he says it's a 6-day yaga. So Brahmarshi takes the diksha and he becomes maunam. So he is not going to interfere no matter what happens and focus only on the completion of the yaga. So then the responsibility of protecting the place lies solely on the young shoulders of Sri Rama Lakshmana. Right? So 6-day yaga. So if you think also, right, the Subahu, Maricha, they don't attack in first 5 days.
Okay.
Because if you attack on the first day, you can always take a break and start the yaga again.
Yeah.
Attack on the 6th day, damage is maximum. This is how the Ashura mind thinks.
Okay.
That's why they're waiting. So Rama says, see, these guys didn't come till now, means they want to come on the 6th day. This is Lakshmana, Sadhu, Savadana, be ready. While he is talking, the Agni is jumping, it seems, in the flame. Almost indicating as Agni Bhagwan is saying, Rama, they are coming. So Almal Agni Bhagavan is saying, then immediately Rama comes and there's this beautiful battle that takes place between the Asuras, and they all come loaded with all kinds of nonsense to throw on the Yaga, Yagna, Kunda and everything. Not a single drop, not a single molecule, I will say, is able to penetrate the protection field that Sri Rama has given. Rama Kavacham is there. Then the two brothers are there, who Maricha and Subahu, right? Subahu is killed by Agneya Astra.
Okay.
Literally burnt. Rama himself does the Antima Sanskara directly of Subahu. But Manava Astra he files, which is like a Samoha Astra, and Maricha is like thrown like several hundred yojanas away. He falls somewhere in southern part of India. He lands into the ocean. Somewhere he lands there.
Okay.
And of course, many commentators are there in Ramayana. They often ask, why was Maricha left behind? And then there are many beautiful answers given. One answer is he has to become a hetu for the Rama Leela to unfold in future. Right?
Yeah, because he causes so much trouble later, right? So,
correct. So that is one reason. Second reason also they say is a very Shastriya reason. Is that, see, his mother is dead, brother is dead. Somebody has to be there to do Antyeshti and all those things, right? Shraddha Karma and all that. So Rama out of Karunyam says, okay, let him stay. Right? And this Maricha is so petrified by Sri Ramachandra that if anybody uses any word beginning with Ra Shabdam, he's like petrified. When Ravana comes, right, he asks him for advice. Because Akampana has told him about Karadushana, Vadam and all that. That time he comes to Maricha first time. After Shurpanaka, he comes again second time to Maricha. Okay, first time when he comes to Maricha, Maricha says, if you say anything like Ratna, Ramesh, Rajesh, it doesn't matter. Anything beginning with the word Ra, if you say, I will faint actually. Because I'm afraid of him. And then he says the Maha Shloka, which everybody says, Ramo Dharma Vigravan. That Maricha only says that, by the way. Everybody is saying that shloka, right? It is told by Maricha. That shloka. Anyway, this thing happens, and Vishwamitra.
And he also tells to Ravana that time, who is your enemy that gives you this, gave you this particular advice? Please tell me the name of this idiot who gave you this advice.
Exactly.
You know,
what a horrible advice, right?
It's a horrible
Ravana
advice.
might have done many things. Like he was a serial offender when it came to women. Look at any encyclopedia and then you say Ravana, you say 4 or 5 pages of Ravana encyclopedia is there, means you will find that 4 pages will be like all FIR report only. Like he's there. But he has other good qualities. Shiva Bhakti, this and that and all. Shastra Veta was there, but then his kamam was not in his control. That was his dosham, main dosham. And still somebody gives him a very horrible advice to only perpetuate that bad quality he already has. So Maricha is saying, what kind of an advice he has given you actually? First tell me that fellow's name. I have to make sure he's not in my phone contact list. Actually. Very dangerous fellow, whoever has given you that advice, right? Anyway, Maricha's story is done. Then Brahmarshi is very, very happy with Sri Ramachandra at the conclusion of the yagna, and he says, this ashrama was called Siddhashrama because of the ancient story. Its name has been, what shall I say, Punaruddharan has taken place for its name because you have given Siddhi again. Siddhi as in success. For the yagna. So he's very, very happy. Then he says, okay, then this whole happened. The evening is closed and Sandhya Vandana, they sleep. Next day morning they wake up. Then what they do? Prabhatayam Sarvayam Krita Paurne Ahniko. They wake up in the morning and they start doing Sandhya Vandana again next day. See, that is how the Ramayana is like. Ramayana has punctuation marks in the form of Sandhya Vandana actually.
Yeah.
So it happens, they wake up, and after Sandhya Vandana, there's another thing I wanted to say for our audience benefit is imagine them doing Sandhya Vandana. If every time they finish Sandhya Vandana, they both will come and fall at Brahmarshi's feet. Unless they do that, they feel like their Anushtanam is not complete. That kind of bhakti. And they come there and they say, Imausma Muni Sardula Kinkara Samupastito Agnyapya Muni Sreshta Shashanam Karavavakim. Hey Swami, we are your kinkaras, your attendants. Agnyapya, give us your agnya, hey Muni Sreshta, and whatever shasanam you have, whatever order you have, we'll fulfill it. See what kind of a fluid devotion. See, this is devotion without any pratibandham. There are no obstacles. Sometimes if you open the shower, the water will not come very well. But when you change the shower head, the water will come very slowly. That time only you will know what you were missing before.
That's true.
What I am trying to imply here is in Sri Rama's bhakti pravaham towards his guru, there is nothing stopping it. It's a free flow. that we have to take that inspiration from Sri Ramachandra.
Yeah.
Then Brahmarshi thinks, okay, I've given him Astra, I've given him Shastra, I've given him everything. Now the second part of the story has to be done, right? Just see Vivaham has to take place.
Yeah.
Then he says, we have to do the Paramashreyas to the Surya Kulam. See, Brahmarshi Vishwamitra and Ikshvaku Kulam have a very mixed relationship, right? Harishchandra and all was tested severely by Brahmarshi. So many people will remember thinking, oh, he tested Harishchandra like that and all that. I'm telling you, for all that might have happened in the past, he's a Brahmanyani. We should not say anything. Even then, I'm saying, what he has done now with Sita Rama Kalyanam, it's like it pays off all the old incidents. You
But
can completely
whatever he did with Harishchandra, that made Harishchandra the Harishchandra.
See Harishchandra. It's an
Sri
anugraham only.
Harishchandra, Anugraham.
It's definitely anugraham only, right? See, in Bhagavad Gita, there is this slokam where in the 3rd chapter he says, there's nothing in the 3 worlds that I have to do, Arjuna. Still I do karma, right? Think about Brahmarshi. He himself is a jnani. Jnani means sarvasanga parityagi, right? Such a jnani he is. Yet he is going around doing yagna karma, taking Rama, coaching him, getting him married to Sita. And after the marriage, you never see him again in Ramayana.
Okay.
It's like jnanis, right? They come, they do their job, they go away. They are not even waiting for a thank you card, happy Deepavali, nothing.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be seen. See, there is no kartartvam in them. They do it and they're gone. So, which means the question comes, then whose kartartvam are they exemplifying?
Yeah.
Whose desire are they fulfilling? It's Ishvara Sankalpam that is happening.
Yeah.
All the jnanis of the world are mere instruments in the hand of Parameshwara. Ishvara was acting through all of them. Right? So now he has decided that the time for Paramashreyas has come. In fact, Paramashreyas, and the reason I'm saying is, Guru Vashishta says to Dasharatha, Tava Putra Hitarthaya, he has come here. For the sake of your son only he has come.
Yeah.
He himself can finish them all off with a hunkaram. He has come for your son's sake, right? So, which means part 2 of the story is now that. Meanwhile, all the Brahma, see, the Yaga Yagya means you can imagine lot of Veda Pandits will all be there, right? Many of them are described as Brahmavadis. All these Brahmavadis means they are Brahmagyanis who have their Veda Adhyanam, who Shrotriya Brahmanishta Samskara. People are all there. They are all saying, no, we are all like very excited to go see Mithilapuri. The reason is that great Mahatma Janaka is there, because Janaka also is a jnani, right? So jnanis will always love to see jnanis, right? We want to go see the Rajarishi.
And he always had a debates with the Brahmagnani. He regularly used to have a debates in his court.
Ashram.
And he also had a debate with Jabali also. That is yes.
Yeah. So for our audience sake, I want to clarify that Mithila is where Maithili comes from. That is the name Maithili given to Sita, which means she comes from Mithila. And Mithila is the place where Raja Janak is the king and Sita is daughter to Raja Janak. Okay. So let's.
And then they're all like eager to go there. And then the talk of the Shaiva Danuhu, Shiva Danush is also mentioned in the conversation. So they are all ready and they're getting up to leave. And then one beautiful incident happens is that all the Mriga Pakshis and everything in the forest, they all come to say goodbye to Brahmarshi. So he's such a sweet person. World may be afraid of him, but people who are nishkapata, right? People who don't have any vile or vices in them, to them Brahmarshi is like a flower, right?
His title itself says it, na? He's Vishwamitra, which means that he's friend to the world. And
right? So he comes there and they all come to Vishwamitra Tapodanam. They come and do pranam. Just like guests, when they leave the home, you go with them outside and see them. Like that, all the animals come and they see Brahmarshi off. So now we will shift the pace of our narration a little bit. Because now you see, this is very interesting because from now on, a lot of stories are being told.
Okay.
And why they are being told? Because of 2 reasons. See, if the Brahmarshi may be a great Brahmanyani, but Rama is a great Jignasu. He wants to know all the truths about the traditions, all the Katha, all the Puranas, because every place he goes, he gets reminded of this, that, and whatnot. Right? So then that's how that bhavam starts. Then slowly they start asking all the stories, and Vishwamitra starts telling stories. So every night he listens to story and goes to sleep. He's thinking about the greatness of Brahmarshi as he's going to sleep. That's how Valmiki Ramayana describes. And then what happens when he wakes up in the morning? Sandhya. That's right. Then one shloka comes: Suprabhata Nisha Rama Purva Sandhya Pravartate Uttishta Uttishta Badramte Gamanaya Virochayah. Oh, get up, get up. Sun is about to rise. Come, come, give your argyam, start your Sandhya Vandana. Like that he wakes him up. Then the story of Ganga Mata is being told. Now, at this point, can you again go back to the power? So we saw this slide, right? Then next slide is also the same place where the yagam is completed. Yeah, this is the slide. So we are coming somewhere around this point actually. So glory of Ganga Mata is there. Then he says, Bhagavan Srotum Ichchami Gangam Tripadam Nadim. So that Tripada Nadi, who's like who's purifying the entire world. I want to know about Gangamma. Then the entire Imavan story, how Ganga and Uma, her two daughters, how Uma with her tapas became Aparna and attained Parameshwara. Ardhangi Bhavam, right? She became half of Parameshwara. And how Ganga Mata had to come down to relieve the Sagara's sons from their Durgati, right? And how Bhagirata did tapas, how she comes and Parameshwara locks her up in his locks, like in his jata. And then he releases him. Then Jahanvi Rishi, how he tests Bhagirata and also Ganga Mata, and how Jahanu Rishi, sorry, and how she came to be called Jahanvi after that, because he is born through her. And then the story of Kumara Sambhavam is also told in the process. And in the Kumara Sambhavam story, this is again very unique because the story of how Kartikeya was born, Shiva Viryam, Agni is bearing it, the Kritika Matas are feeding him, and Devi Uma, actually her privacy with Parameshwara was affected, right? Because of which she gives the shrap to the Devatas that they will not have Santanam. A lot of interesting things are all happening. But after the end of the Kumara Sambhavam, there is a shloka. I will just recite that one shloka because it is considered as the falashruti of listening to the Kumara Sambhava shloka. It says, Bhaktah cha yah Kartikeya Kakutsta Bhuvi Manavaha Ayushman Putra Pautra cha Skanda Salokyam Brajate. Whoever has bhakti to Kartikeya, to Subramanya Swami, to Shanmuga, to Muruga, right? Such a person in this life here, he will have Abhyudayam. Abhyudayam means he will have Putra, Pautra, Divardhanam, all Dhanam, Dhanyam, Pashupudra Labham, everything, Satasamvatsaram and all that. Dirgayu. And then after this, they will go to, they will get Salokya Moksham, which means they will go into the world of Skanda Lokam, in Kaumara Lokam. See, Skanda, Vinayaka, they are all Saguna Brahma Swarupams. Right? Same Brahman is appearing as this 6 forms, as Shiva, Shakti, Vishnu, Ganapati, Skanda, and Surya. Right? Shanmata, Adi Shankaracharya is known as Shanmata Sthapanacharya Namaha. So he streamlined everything so that the Upasakas of all these 6 are in their minds. It should be clear that even though they're doing Upasana to any of these 6 forms, they are actually doing Upasana to the Parabrahman only. There should be no doubt in their mind. So, like that, they will attain it. This is what Valmiki Ramayanam says. So, I thought I should mention this. Then you can go to the next slide. The next slide is a very, very interesting story. It is the whole Gautama Ahalya story. See, the main lesson of this story, most of us know the story, is that Gautama is considered as one of the Saptarishis according to some of the accounts. Ahalya Devi was born out of the Amsha of Bhagavati herself. Yet, in spite of their great tapas and everything, she had that Lesha Matra Avidya where she identified herself with her body. She, the Deha Saundarya Abhimana did not leave her, and that vanity caused her downfall.
Correct.
Rajagopalacharya ji, when he wrote this abridged version of Ramayana, he's talking about this section. He says that if somebody is dhoti is there, it is white in color. If there's one dot there, everybody will say there's a mark here, dhoti. Right? Like maybe this was the mark. Yeah. Valmiki Ramayana is very careful in saying it. It never sugarcoats what happened. Yet is very, I will say, profuse in its stuti of Ahalya Devi as a tapasvini. So this balanced view, right, can only come out of a rishi. Pamaras, you see, we'll always take sides. But Mahatmas know where to stand and how to guide.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a very beautiful thing. And here we should also remember the Karunyam of Brahmarshi Vishwamitra. Right? The Karunyam of Brahmarshi Vishwamitra is that he is going towards Mithila, right? He's taking the route in such a way that he can take Sri Ramachandra and Lakshmana Swami to Ahalya Mata Ashrama or Gautama Ashrama. So that itself is his Parama Karunyam, right? And then when he comes there, Rama asks, "Where are you taking me, Swami? What is this ashrama?" Then he says, "Gautamasya Narasreshta Purvam Asit Mahatmanah." So Gautama Narasreshta Purvam Asit Mahat. That Mahatma used to be here before. He says. Then, due to certain lapse on the part of Ahalya Devi, she had to purify herself again. So Gautama, as a husband, is not just a husband; he's also guru to his wife. So he knows is the patanam of Ahalya Devi, and he asks her to do tapas till the point her tejas is fully recovered, and there is no anatma pratyaya asakti in her. Anatma pratyaya asakti means atma is Shuddha Chaitanya Swarupam. Anatma is everything from body, mind onwards is anatma. So long as you have identification with anatma, there is always risk of fall. That is the key message of this Ahalya story.
Yeah.
So and how do you know that I have attained dridatvam in atma anatma vivekam? When Bhagavan himself is coming to you, you know that you have attained enough chitta shuddhi, right? So he says that when Sri Ramachandra himself comes, that time the timer is set to finish. That time I will also come and take you back. Yeah, ask Shruti.
I have one question here. So I think the stories that I've heard growing up from my grandmom, right? It always mentions Ahilya Devi to be turned into a stone, and then Sri Rama coming and touching his feet, and then she turns back into herself. I want to clarify that. I don't think Valmiki Ramayan mentions it in this
It doesn't.
fashion.
It's not said. It says Iha Varsha Sahasrani Bahuni Nivasyasi Vayu Bhaksha Nirahara Tapayanti Basmashayini Adrishya Sarva Bhutanam Ashrame Asmin Vasishyasi. It is said that she is here unseen by Sarva Bhutanam. She's not like a stone, is not told in Valmiki Ramayana.
Okay.
Never.
And never. It is there. And also see how
And she glows
natural
when
it
she
is.
sees the Rama. She appears like glowing, and she
Glowing.
comes.
Because he's
Glowing.
been doing tapas for so long.
Yeah.
Right? She's glowing and she's Vayu Bhaksha Nirahara Tapyanti. She is doing tapas, not eating anything, just with breathing only. Breathing is her only aharam.
Okay.
Right? With that, she is doing. This is the description in Valmiki Ramayana, 48th Sarga, 30th and 29th and 30th verses, and our answers to your question, Shruti. Like
Okay.
our readers, our audience can also go back to Valmiki Ramayana and look up this story. But the idea, you are right, actually. She's not like a stone or anything. I know in other Ramayanas it's told like that, but here it is not said like that. It's very, very natural. And also see the attitude of God. He didn't say, "Oh, you have been unfaithful." Nothing like none of this.
And on
Things.
that note, I want to tell you, I want to add one thing. Who was Rishi Gautama? Okay, so I mentioned the name of Jabali, right? So what really happened was the Jabal was a son of some lady who was a servant, actually, the Jabali. So he wanted to learn, like Karna wanted to learn, right? So he approaches Rishi Gautama. So in olden days, they used to say,
In
"Who is your
Satyakama Jabala, you are
Satyakama
saying
Jabala?" Yeah,
Jabala, yeah.
Jabala. So he says, like, "Who are you? What's your gotra and all?" Right. So he went to his mother, asks, "I do not know your father who was, because I served many people, and I do not know his gotra also. The only thing I know is my name is Jabal and your name is Jabali." He went next day, told Gautama exactly star dot star that her mother told, and says, "My gotra is Jabal."
Yeah. So he goes to in Chandogya Upanishad, Mahesh, the
Yes,
story comes
Chandogya
when
Samveda.
Satyakama goes to Gautama Muni and he says, "My name is Satyakama Jabala. My mother's name is Jabala. My mother has told me I was born when she was very young and she doesn't know." You know what Gautama says? A person who can speak the truth
Is
without
Brahman.
worrying about what others will think about him, such a person can only be a Brahmana.
Brahman. You are a true Brahmin, he says. You are a
Yeah.
true Brahmin, and he gave this.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that was Gautama Rishi. So he wouldn't distinguish for the small thing. He wouldn't discriminate or say bad things. It was for the good thing. That was Ishwarecha. That was already said.
Correct. And also in Skanda Purana, there are so many glories of Ahalya Devi and Gautama Muni that are actually told in Skanda Purana. In fact, when Devi Parvati comes to do tapas in Arunachala, right? That time you should have, the whole thing is thrilling actually. So I'm saying that it is a small dot in the white canvas.
Yeah.
Right? But normally what people do is they try to compare dot to dot. They don't compare the canvas to canvas.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
where the problem is, right? So
Yeah.
okay, so this happens, and then just like next moment, after Mata makes herself appear, Ahalya Mata, Brahmarshi asks Rama Lakshmana fall at her feet and do namaskaram.
Yeah.
So compared to other Ramayanas, it is the other way around. Here Rama and Lakshmana do namaskaram to Ahalya Mata,
Yeah.
right? And then
Because
she
she's
also does the
tapaswini.
Adit Samskar. Yes, she's a Maha Tapaswini, right?
Yeah.
And then she does Atitya Sanskaram, like Argyam, Padyam, Asanam, and all she gives. So this was what Gautama Muni says. When you do that Rama, that time I will come and take you back. So when the correct timer happens, Gautama Muni also appears and takes her back. So just one thing I want to add is that if you think of Parameshwara as Pashupati, okay, and then the question comes, how shall we as Pashus have Pativrityam? If he is the Pashupati, we should have Pativrityam to him as Jivas, right? Jagannatha in Lalita Sahasranama, she is called Sadashiva Pativrata. Her Pativrityam to Sadashiva is Sada Shiva Pativrityam she has, right? How can she attain that Sadashiva Pativrityam? Because of the previous part of the shloka says Sarvopadi Vinirmukta Sadashiva Pativrata. Sarva Upadi Vinirmukta. Once you know your essential nature as devoid of manas, buddhi, ahankaram, srotram, like mano, buddhi, ahankara, chittani, naham, nacha shrotra jivve, nacha grana netre, nacha vyoma bhumir, nato tejo na vayuhu, chidananda rupa, shivoham. Bhagavati Parvati knows her essential self as Chit Shakti Rupini as being one with Parameshwara. With that bhavam she has, that is why her Pativrityam is Sadashiva Pativrityam. Similarly, if our Pativrityam to Parameshwara has to be perfect, then we should also develop that samskara for Atma Vidya Sravanam and the samskara for Atma Anatma Vivekam. That will ensure that our bhakti to Parameshwara is like a pot with no holes. Otherwise, you see, there's always a risk that we may go towards him. Like, there's famous math, like the frog will climb 3 feet in the morning, but sleep 4 feet in the night. Our story will become like that, actually. Right?
Yeah.
So we should do that. So anyway, Ahalya Mata thing happens. Then when Gautama Mahamuni comes, everybody does namaskaran to them. They go away, Ahalya Mata and Gautama Mahamuni. And the Ramachandra, Lakshmana Swami and Brahmarshi, they all start walking towards Mithilapuri.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the next thing. So again, as they are going there itself, Janaka Maharaja comes there, and he does namaskara and everything. And again, our Maheshji already talked about Janaka being a great Brahmavadin and all great rishis. Janaka is a title, like we are aware of, right? It's a title given to the Raja in that Sampradaya. So there have been in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we see Gargi, Vachak, Navi, and others are in the court. Then Yajnavalkya, Janaka Samvada. Then in other Puranas and Mahabharata and all, we can see Ashtavakra and Janaka having a Samvada. Then there are stories of Shuka and Janaka. So all these Janakas are different Janakas, so to speak. Similarly, the Janaka of Sita Mata's father is a different Janaka.
Siradwaja.
Janaka, yes.
And his brother Kushadwaja.
Kushadwaja, correct. So, in fact, in Bhagavad Gita, in 3rd chapter also, Bhagavan Krishna says that karmana hi samsiddhim astita janakadaya. He says, through karma performed as karma yoga itself, the great people like Janaka have attained perfection, samsiddhi. So, the name itself should evoke jnana sampradaya in our mind, a rishi sampradaya in mind. In such a sampradaya appeared, I would say, I won't say born, I will say appeared Sita Mata, right? Because like you said at the very introduction, she's Ayonija, right? In fact, when Janaka is introducing, right, Sita Mata, he says that she is actually Virya Shulka Itime Kanya Stapita Iyam Ayonija. He says she is Ayonija, and she's a Maha Tejasvi. For somebody to be worthy of marrying her, they should prove themselves through the Virya Shulkam. The test of Swayamvaram that I have kept. Anyway, he says this, but just before he says this, his eyes falls on Ramachandra and Lakshmana. And then he says, Imau Kumaro Badram Te Devatulya Parakramau Gajatulya Gati Viro Shardulya Rishabhaupamau. So this, in Dvivachanam itself, Swami speaks, Janaka Maharaja speaks. He says, who are these people? They look like Vishnu Tulya Parakramam, Gajatulya Veeram, and they the gait of an elephant. In Parakramam, they could remind one of Vishnu himself. See, he's a jnani, right? He has recognized the divinity. But then they all play their roles beautifully in the samsara, right? So
Yeah.
who are they? Where are they coming from? And similarly, by the way, this Dvivachanam speaking, right? Similarly, Swami Hanuman speaks the same way when he sees Rama and Lakshmana in Kishkinda Kanda, third Sarga also.
Yeah.
He says, Rajarishi Deva Pratimau Tapaso Samsita Vrato Desham Katam Imam Prapto Babanto Varninau. So this Dvivachana style, it almost feels like Jnani speak in the same way, you know. So he speaks like that. So after hearing what Janaka says, Vishwamitra announces who they are, what kind of parakramas they have attained. And so basically the desire that they should become the Bharta, I mean, basically of my daughters. That bhavam is entering Janaka already. And he even says actually that if this Apirama Mahatejo Mama Mata Yashashvini Vanyai Upaharat Pujam Puja Hare, not this sloka actually. Let me see. There's another sloka here. Yeah, correct. So basically he says at that point that if this Vaidika Kratu, I have put this Virya Shulkam for Sitama, if there is a chance that Rama and Lakshmana, they can all come there and Rama can lift the bow and tie it, which many people have failed, he says. And for 1 year we have been trying, nothing has really happened.
Okay.
So if they can come and do it, it will be great. He asks. Then Brahmarshi doesn't say anything, he just smiles. Then he says, we are coming towards that because we want to see the bow.
Okay.
He doesn't say we want to be part of Swayamvara, he just says we want to see the bow actually.
Yeah, I am very surprised. I thought that Sri Rama and Lakshman actually went to the Swayamvar. It seems like they are actually going to see the Shiva's bow. And in parallel, there is this Swayamvar happening. And
actually, Swayamvar is like that show in that Ramanand Sagars or other Ramayana. One day, all the king comes and they try to live. It wasn't happening like that.
One day
It was going on and on and on. Everybody will come at their ability when they can come to leave the bow. If they can do it, that's it. That will be the end. Okay. So far, this thing has happened and nobody has done. Unlike Ramayana serial, where right exactly he breaks and then the Parshurama comes storming into Janaka Sabha. It did not happen like this.
Yeah. So it's a little, I think, dramatized version of that. But I am
different inspiration. They have taken a lot of that in Ramanand Sagarji's Ramayana comes from Ramcharitmanas. For example, here in the Parashurama Garvabhangam thing actually happens after marriage when they are going on their way back to Ayodhya. It happens. Whereas in Ramcharitmanas things, Bhargava Rama enters the Rajasabha of Janaka.
Okay. So, but you said like he says it's going on for a year, and we don't have anyone who could lift the bow and tie the
nothing. Nobody could even come close. In fact, the whole thing in our sampradaya is Sita Rama Vivaham is in many places, like in Champu Kavyam by Kalidasa and Bojakavi. There are descriptions of this.
Yes.
And there are wonderful descriptions everywhere. In fact, there's a story where they say that Ravana also came, tried and failed. There are some stories like that also. Right?
Yeah.
So the purpose of all these stories is to glorify that event and glorify the greatness of Sri Rama marrying Sita Mata. That was their intention of all these kavis. Whenever they extrapolate or interpolate, whatever they do
mostly
basically
extrapolate.
Okay.
So there's one more thing I want to say is that at that same time when Janaka is talking, Shatananda comes, who is Gautama Mahamuni and Ahalya Devi's Kumara. And he comes very anxiously to Sri Brahmarshi. With folded hands, he says, Apite Muni Shardula Mama Mata Yashashvini. Darshita Rajaputraya Tapo Dirgam Upagatah. Has my mother's tapas, which has been going for Dirga Kalam, as it attained fulfillment with the darshana of Rama and Lakshmana. He says, and then Brahmarshi says with great happiness, he says, Na Atikrantam Munisreshta Yat Kartavyam Kritam Maya. Sankata Munina Patni Bhargavena Iva Renuka. See, this is very beautiful. He says, I have done my kartavyam, I have done my duty. How can this be Brahmarishi's duty? Yet he is saying it. Then whose duty is it? It is Ishvara's duty, right? Like Name Partha Asti Kartavyam Trishu Lokeshu Kinchana. In Bhagavad Gita, Swami says, right? Same bhavam you see here. He says it's Ishvara Sankalpam that has taken place. And just like Renuka Devi joined Jamadagni, Mahamuni. See the simile, because there also it's a story of remorse and redemption.
Yes.
So it's what they are saying is, just like Renuka Devi is today worshipped by everybody, your mother will also be worshipped by the whole world. That is a bhavam that is being communicated by Brahmarshi. Brahmarshi's karunyam is there is no parimiti for that. In
Yeah.
entire Balakanda, you can imagine, just like in Sundarakanda, Swami Hanuman is the hero. And what did Swami Hanuman do? He allowed for Sita and Rama to come together.
Yeah.
Similarly, in Balakanda, Brahmarshi's karunyam is also aparampar. And what does he do? He brings Sita and Rama together. Interestingly, one person is a jnani, the other person is also a jnani. Right? Brahmarshi is a jnani, Swami Hanuman is a jnani. See the similarities in both these kandas, right? Balakanda and Sundarakanda.
Yeah.
So beautiful, actually.
Yeah, and I like that reference of Jamadagni and Renuka also, who are, for our audience, by the way, they are the mother and father to Parshuram. And I like it that he says, like, just like them, your mother will also be worshipped, because I remember my grandmom taught me that stotra, right? Ahalya Draupadi Sita Tara Mandodari Tatha Panchakanya Smare Nityam. I forgot the last part.
Smare Nityam is good. Phalitam will automatically come.
Yeah, so she is remembered as the 5 Kanyas to be worshipped, which is huge. And that exactly shows what you just said.
Yes, correct. And then after this, Shatananda is like filled with joy. And then he even says, actually, he turns to Rama, Lakshmana says, Swagatam te narasreshta drishtya prapto asi Raghava. And achintya karma tapasa brahmarshi amita prabaha vishwamitro mahateja vedyam vetsi yenam paramam gatim. Then he says, you are welcome, Rama and Lakshmana. It's a great fortune for you and me and for everybody that he who is the ultimate for everybody, not just for you and me, for everybody, that Maha Tapasvi, Brahmarshi, Amita Prabhava, you have been spending time with him. See how Brahmarshi is lifted in Adikavi, right? By Adikavi in Valmiki Ramayana. And then 16 chapters are devoted by Shatananda to tell the entire biography of Brahmarshi Vishwamitra.
Oh,
and
wow.
16 chapters are told. And we should remember that, see, what we go through in one life itself sometimes seems like a lot to us.
Yeah.
But across many lives, what one person will go through, that Kaushika went through in one life, and he emerged on the other end as this Brahmarshi with whom we have been traveling today.
Yeah.
Right? So, and Brahmarshi is a rishi who is like everybody's rishi, because you see Savitri mantra, everybody like is Loka Prasiddha mantra. Right? People may say I am from this gotra or that gotra, but whoever has had Dvija Samskara, who do Gayatri Upasana and everything, whatever be their gotra and their rishi parampara, they will definitely think of Brahmarshi because they are doing Savitri Upasana. Right? And Brahmarshi, and also Sita Rama Kalyanam, he has enabled that and he's prepared Rama. We should never and we can never forget Brahmarshi for, as long as it is there, this world is there, right? So anyway, this whole thing comes in the background of how that bow came to Janaka Maharaja. That story is also told. Daksha Yagna story is also briefly told, right? And then again, Janaka Maharaja asks for Virya Shulka iti me kanya stapita iyam Ayonija. He says she's Ayonija. This Kanya Shulkam has to be given by Tejasvi. He says, and then if you can come, it will be great. Then Brahmarshi says okay, and they go there. And then when they go there, see, in many Ramayanas, even Kamba Ramayana, it is Annalum Nokinal, Avadum Nokinal. Like they met before that they met before the marriage. Or before that Swayamvara, they met Rama and Sita met. This is being told in a few Ramayanas, but in Valmiki Ramayana, it's not like that.
Okay.
Valmiki Ramayana is like very, very straightforward in that sense. So he goes there, he sits, he doesn't even look at the bow actually. Forget Sita. He says, then Brahmarshi says, Vatsa Rama Pashya Danu. He says, see the Danu. Then when he says, relieve Janaka of this trouble. Right? That is the idea. Then Rama goes there, he lifts it, he ties it, the thing breaks. Then everybody is excited, and in fact, in excitement, many people faint, except Sri Rama, Lakshmana, Brahmarshi, and Janaka. Most of the people who were there in the court that day, they all fainted actually, because it's a spectacular thing. It is that Danu with which Triparasura Vadam took place, right? That Danu is breaking means what does it mean actually, right? So that kind of a shock is there. And immediately the news is being sent to Dasharatha Maharaja. Dasharatha Maharaja is extremely happy because he was initially worried that my son might become sannyasi. He's going with the sannyasi. I don't know what will happen. But when he found out that he's getting married and everything is happy, then like any father, he says, it's all Ishwaranugram.
And that also Janaka's
Janaka's
daughter.
Correct. Janaka's thing, and then it's a wonderful thing. They all come, they all try to get married. The Vamsham of Surya Vamsham, Janaka Vamsham, all of these are chanted in Sarga 70 and 71, which are
And
very
actually,
beautiful.
this is Vansham has to be chanted during any wedding. Nowadays, we just only chant the three like ancestors, but in olden days, it was to give the whole ancestry to make sure how great the two families are.
And what a great, one is Surya Vamsham
Yes.
and is Chandra Vamsham. See, we Bharatiyas, right? We are in debt to the Surya Vamsham Janakam. Just today itself, we talked about Bhagirath, Gangamma, right? Of course, Sri Rama.
Actually, I want to add something to what you just said, Suryavansham and Vansham. So, Suryavansham came uh, Rama's lineage called great king called Ishwaku, right?
Yes.
Manu's son, Manu's daughter was the one founder of Chandra Vansham. So I read somewhere Suryavansham came from south, from Tamil Nadu up. So the Ishwaku, the people traveled, and then Manu declared the Ishwaku the king of Ayodhya. So because they were Suryavansham, till today, people in Tamil Nadu still they follow the solar calendar, solar month. Even in uh, West Bengal, Punjab also. So those are still the traces are there. Even in Odisha also, because they have passed through it, right? So their calendar is solar calendar, and the lunar calendar is pretty much the rest of India for Chandravansha. So that just want to bring it this thing reference to the how our Panchanga and everything is connected.
Yeah, Maheji, in Bhagavatam, when Matsya Avatara story comes, right? That Manu of the Matsya Avatara story is only from Tamil Nadu actually, because the Kritamala is the Nadi in which the fish comes. Kritamala is the Vaigai Nadi. So he's a
Vagainadi,
Pandya Desha
Pandya
king
Desha,
who is the Manu, which is
no,
in the Matsya Avatara.
it's Avatar.
That is right. Again, and also Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakam Ikshvake Abravit. He says right in fourth chapter, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. He says, this Vidya I am giving you, Arjuna, I had given to Vivasvan. From Vivasvan it came to Manu. Manu told to Ikshvaku. So this Brahma Vidya Sampradaya is also linked with Surya Kulam.
Surya Sam.
So not only the sacred geography is linked to them, like Ganga Avataranam and everything, but also the Brahma Vidya Sampradaya, they are linked to that also. And in Janaka, the rishis are there in Chandra Kulam. So both these kulams are important for Abhyudayam and Nisrayasam. Abhyudayam means holistic welfare of Indians or Hindus or Sanatana Dharmis everywhere, and also for our moksha hetu. They are part of both the narratives, right? Vaidika narrative and also Laukika narrative. That's one thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, they come and they decide the star. Maheshi, there is this one shloka which I might have told you before. Maga hi adye mahabaho tritiye dvisiye prabho.
Say
Can you
Prabhu.
maybe take up that shloka and tell us how did they choose the time for marriage based on the?
So the sloka says, you said the first part, you said Falgunya Muttare Rajan Tasmin Vaiva Hikam Kurum
Hmm.
Rama Lakshmanayor Rather Danam Karyam Sukhodayam. So that means that day was Maga Nakshatra, and then Maga Nakshatra third day will be Uttara Falguni Nakshatra, and you will notice that for Vivaham, Uttara Falguni Nakshatra is good. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now there are many. I have read many versions about this. Everybody agrees that was Uttara Falguni Nakshatra was for sure. Okay. So now some people say it was done in Purnima. That day was Purnima. Now, if you know the Panchanga, people who know Panchanga, the months are decided right based on the Purnima, the full moon, and the nakshatra falling on that day. Usually, it will be always Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. That's why it's called Falgun Masa, right? So
Yeah.
now the trouble comes here. That day would be Falguna Purnima. What day would be Holi? The day usually in North India, there are 8 days called Holastaka because of the day of the Holi. Okay. day of Narsimha Avtara was way before Rama Avtara.
Yeah.
So there was a Panchang thing that one cannot do auspicious thing from Ashtami till Purnima. But in South India, that is pretty much in North India. Now remember, in South India, the Vivaham of Subramanya, and what we call as Panguni Uttiram, was also done on the Panguni Uttiram, which is Panguni means Panguni Masa, when sun is in Meena Rashi, and Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. Okay. Now that happens to be Panguni Uttiram day, when sun was in Meena Rashi, and that day was also Purnima, happened to be holy. This happens once in 4 years. Usually, Panguni Uttiram will come with Holi. Okay, this year it was like that. Okay, in 2024. Okay, so next year it may not be like that because of the Adhik Masa. So
shift
so
things.
that time it was coinciding with this thing. Some people say in Vaishak Masa it wasn't on Uttara Falguni Nakshatra, but Valmiki Ramayana says clearly Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. Okay, but if it is not Purnima, then it could be Bhadrapada Masa also. So depends now. But one thing is sure, whatever month you take, it was definitely Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. And more like Ram being Suryavanshi, and Vasishtha was the one who said Muhurta, not anybody else, because when sage Vasishtha is there, nobody else will say Muhurta, for sure. Right?
In fact, this in the Yagna, the description is there that Brahmarshi Vishishta is like the main presiding person. Right? He stays Shatananda is from Janaka's side, actually. But then Brahmarshi Vishwamitra is there, and they're all sitting. See the sadas, right? It is told that Vamadeva, Kashyapa, all those rishis come to Dasharatha's Sabha. So all rishis and jnanis and Brahmavadis, they're all assembled for our parents' wedding, so to speak, Sita Rama wedding, right?
Yeah.
So that is happening, and then that famous shloka is there, which is considered as a very famous shloka in our sampradaya. 73rd Sarga, 26th shloka. It says, "Iyam Sita Mamasota Sahadharmacharitava Prati Icha Enam Badram Te Panim Grihnisha Varnina." So this shloka is said to be chanted in most of the Hindu weddings. So this Sita, my daughter, this is what Janaka says. This Sita, the Kanyadana shloka, this Sita, my daughter, she will be your Sahadharmacharini, which means she will walk with you in your path of Dharma unconditionally. Right? Then he says, take Pani Grihnisha Parinam. So take her hand. See, this idea of Pani Grahanam is the very idea of Diksha in a wedding. So Rama is looked upon Sitamma as a guru. That's the point of Panigrahanam. In Upanayana Samskara also they do Panigrahanam. Where the Vatu, father holds the hand and then only gives the mantra upadesha, right? So this bhavam, this vivaham is basically a spiritual act. That is the tatparyam of this, and it is set by Valmiki Ramayana for us as an example. See, Vedam can tell us many things, Kalpasutras can tell many things, but when Itihasa comes along and shows us a story which actually lives out the teachings of Vedam, then we know that this is our life actually. This is how our life has to happen. Right? That bhavam enters us. That's why it's very important to not just study philosophical texts, but to go to Itihasa and Purana. In fact, Mahabharata has a shloka which says that Itihasa Purananam Vedam Samubha Brahmayet. Vedam should be understood only with Itihasa and Purana. People who have not studied this in detail, and they think they have understood Vedam means Vedam is actually afraid of them because they may misinterpret Vedam any way they want actually. So this is there, and so Rama Sita Vivaham, Lakshmana Urmila Vivaham, Bharata Mandavi Vivaham, Sri Satrugna Swami and Srutakirti Ma Vivaham, all of these take place. So this is and they do Agni Pradakshinam, Krita Vedim Rajam Ivayacha. So with this it happens, and Vishwamitra and all of them after the marriage they walk towards Ayodhya. That's when Parashurama Garvabangam happens.
So
but that we will reserve for another day.
I want to add one thing. Usually, if there are in a family 2 brothers and 2 sisters, on that side, they will not marry, or 2 brothers or 2 sisters basically will not marry in the same mandapa. Okay, but there was a difference. Rama's mother was different, Lakshmana's mother was different. Okay, only and then Bharat's mother was different. Only comes with the Shatrughna. Okay, so in that case, there was a difference in the what we call as uh, within, there was some Naumansha difference basically that makes them. So if there are same Naumansha, same Lagna, you cannot do it. But if it's a different Lagna, same Raj Lagna, but different Naumansha, you can do it. So hence all those marriage did happen on the same time. All are astrological, this thing.
Significances. Yeah. Maheshji, can I take 5 more minutes? I will say the Parashurama Garvabhangam, then the Balakanda will finish actually.
Sure.
I just
So
realized
let's
why stop at
Why
last
stop it
Sarga,
now?
right? Yeah.
Let's stop it. Why
Yeah.
stop it now?
So the idea is the marriage is happening happily. So now, yeah, this is great. So this is where they are meeting in advance. I told already. If you go to the next slide, then we talk about Janakpur where the Vivaham took place, right? Then if you go one more slide, yeah, this is the slide. I'll talk to this slide and then you can withdraw the slide. The idea is after the marriage, they are now walking a long distance, right? They are going there about 178 kilometers between Janakpur and Dohri Ghat. After walking the distance with that huge retinue and army and everything, and in that Dohri Ghat region only, it is said that Parashurama intercepted the party. So when Swami came, when I Swami, I have this tendency of sometimes not taking the name of Mahatmas. I keep saying Swami and Bhagwan. Many of my listeners get confused. Who is he talking about? Now I am talking about Parashurama, Bhargava Rama, who came there, and he intercepted the retinue. Because why has he come? He is angry that the Shiva Dhanush has been insulted. With that bhavam he is coming. Again, you see Mahatmas and all, we can't judge them with their outer bhavam. They usually come for some divine purpose, which we will know very shortly. So he comes there, and then he stops, and then there's a huge cloud of dust. Everybody is like tense. Dasharatha is very, very tense. Vishwamitra, but Vashishta Mahamuni says, don't worry about it. Even though there are some inauspicious nimittas or omens, some auspicious omens are also there, which means whatever is going to happen, we will overcome it successfully.
Okay.
So he comes there and they realize as the dust settles, they see Dadarsha Bhima Sankasham Jata Mandala Darinam. So with Jata Mandala Darinam, the cloud is split. And then with Parashu and Dhanu and everything, Parashurama is standing there like a Ugra Parameshwara. And Kailasam Viva Durdarsham, Kalagnim Viva Durhasam, Jwalantam Iva Tejobihi, Durniksham Britak Janaihi. People are afraid to even look at him, it seems. He's like that much tejas and anger, he's standing there. Then immediately everybody comes, Dasharatha offers him argyam and everything. But Parashurama Muni is not even looking at anybody. His eyes are fixed on Rama. Okay? And he says, Rama Dasharate Veera Viryam Te Shruyate Adbhutam. Dhanusho Vedanam Chaiva Nikilena Maya Shrutam. I have heard what you have done and all your great deeds, that you have broken Shiva's Dhanush and all that. Then immediately what happens is, while Parashurama is talking to Rama, his father Dasharatha, right? He keeps coming in between to say, Swami is a small child, he doesn't know anything, But Parashurama doesn't even pay attention to Dasharatha actually. He continues talking directly to Rama. Then Rama sees this. Okay. Then basically what happens is Rama slowly asks his father to become calm, and he slowly walks towards the Bhagavan Parashurama, Bhargava Rama, right? And then he talks about there are 2 Dhanhu made by Vishwakarma in the old days, Shaiva Dhanhu, Vaishnava Dhanhu. Okay. So if you are going to prove your worth, you should take this Vaishnava Dhanhu and set an arrow and string it and set an arrow to it. And then you will be worthy of fighting me. This is what Swami says. I mean, Bhargava Rama says, right? Immediately Dasharatha tries to intervene, but nothing happens, right? Then immediately Ramachandra himself comes very calmly. Okay. And then he says, he takes the bow and he says, Kritavan asmi yat karma, Shrutavan asi Bhargava. Hey Bhargava, hey Narayana, hey Brahma Pungava. Bhargava basically means one who is a descendant of the Bhrigu Vamsham, right? He says, whatever you want me to do, I will do it. So he takes it, he puts the arrow, which cannot be done by anybody other than Vishnu. This immediately Parashurama knows. And not only that, in Valmiki Ramayana, generally the idea that Rama is Vishnu is told in few locations by people other than Rama himself.
Yeah.
Rama himself never admits it.
Yeah.
Okay. And now he takes his bow and arrow, right? And you know what? He gives two choices to Bhargava Rama. Those two choices reveal that he is Vishnu. First of all, taking the Vaishnava Danu itself should have convinced us he's Vishnu.
Yeah.
But pitting that arrow, he says, Swami, do you want me to take away your power to go everywhere at Manovegam? Or should I destroy all the Punya Lokams that you have acquired by your tapas? No ordinary Vyakti, Samsari can say this. Only Ishvara, because he is the Karma Faladata.
Yeah.
He is the Karma Faladata. So as a Karma Faladata, he is asking. And this is an Anugraham only. See, just like Papam is a shackle, sometimes Punyam can also become a shackle. Right? So it's like, imagine a chain. Just because somebody has tied you in a jail with a golden chain, you will not take selfie and put it in Instagram, right? Oh, I'm in jail with a golden chain. Nobody will say that, right? Because it's a shackle.
Yeah.
By the way, we should all strive for punyam only. There is no doubt in my mind about that. But I am talking about people of the stature of Bhargava Rama.
Yeah.
For their level, they are Amsha Avatara. They have come for a purpose. Now there's a transitioning happening at the Yuga. Bhargava Rama is, as it were, handing the mantle to Dasharatha Rama.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, the Bhargava Rama's name was Rama, but because he hold a Parshu, that's why it's called Parshu Rama.
Parshuram.
So the
from
Rama
Rama to Kodanda Rama.
Yeah, so that's what he's going. He's saying that transition from one Rama to another Rama.
Correct. And when he says this, immediately Bhargava Rama becomes overwhelmed by the Vishnu Tattvam that he's seeing there. Then he says, Ramam Kamala Patraksham. See how he suddenly addresses him, right? With love and affection. See, anybody who knows Rama as Rama really is, can speak to Rama in only one way. That is why you see, whenever people speak to Rama, they speak with great madhuryam. Right? That is why Kujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam. That shlokam says, right? It's a Maduram. Rama, he calls, right? Like Brahmarshi also. Here also he says, Rama Kamala Patraksha. He says, Kashyapa Muni, I have given the entire world to Kashyapa Muni. I have told him I will not be here in the night. So I should have the ability to travel at Manovegam. Speed of thought, I should be able to go back to Mahendragiri. So I cannot be here. So clearly,
that is faster than speed of light. Speed of thought is faster than speed of light. Okay.
Yes, because we can think of light. So thought is faster than light.
Thought is faster than light.
Right. So then he says, I cannot break my this thing I promise I've given to Kashyapa Prajapati. So I cannot stay in the night. Instead, destroy all my Punya Lokas.
Okay.
Which is a great thing to say. And then he says, Akshayam Madhu Hantaram Janamitam Sureshwaram. He says, I know you are the Sureshwara who killed Madhu Kaitabashura. He is directly saying you are Vishnu.
Vishnu, yeah.
Right? He says, and then release the arrow and free me from that golden shackle that I talked about, right? That golden shackle. Then he says, then when that is done, he says, this bow that you hold, Rama, is given by Varuna Bhagavan. He says. Then what happens is, it is given back to Varuna Bhagavan. And when later on in the forest, when Sri Ramachandra meets Agastya Bhagavan, that time Agastya Bhagavan gives this bow back
to him. Okay.
So that's the idea. It's uploaded and then downloaded again. Right? It's given back to him. So this is how the story happens. And then immediately he turns to his father, who's like petrified, right? Appa, it's all over, nothing to worry.
So he gives that Varun, that the Dhanusha he acquired from Agastya to God Varuna, right? To keep it?
Yes, right? To keep it. Okay. And then Agastya Bhagavan, then only he gives it back to... Correct. And then they come, and then there are some very wonderful verses about the Anyonya Paraspara Prema between Sri Rama and Sita. It seems they used to talk Antargatam Api Vyaktam Akhyati Hridayam Hridaha. With heart to heart, they used to speak to each other, it seems. So that kind of a sweet relationship Sri Rama and Sita Ma they have. And then with that, basically the last verse basically says, Tasya Bhuyo Viseshena Maithili Janakatmajaha Devata Abhi Samarupe Sita Sri Iva Rupini. She is identical with Sri. Sri Sakshat Jaganmata Mahalakshmi. So Sri Ramachandra is Sakshat Vishnu. Right? So with that bhavam, Balakanda finishes. So this is a very, very auspicious way of ending Balakanda. And they
Yeah.
lived happily for several years in Ayodhya.
Yeah. Okay. So this is
So with
amazing.
that, I will say one thing: Kayena vacha manasendriyarva
Sindhirva
buddhyatmanava
Buddhyatmanava
prakriti
Prakate
swabhavat
Swabhavat
karomi
Karomi
yajat
Yatyat
sakalam
Sakalam
parasmai
Parasmai
Shri
Shriman
Narayana
Narayana It
Devi
Samarpayami Shriman Namah
samarpayami.
Shivaya It Samarpayami Swami.
This is a very great, like I guess I interrupted you a lot, but we had very good Balakanda description here.
See,
So
these
we'll
are not interruptions, Shruti. See, when you ask this question, is that matanam takes place, the churning.
discussion.
Right?
Yeah.
Meanings can be vachikartham,
Mhm.
they can be sampradayartham. Sometimes rahasyarthams are there. They're hidden meanings. They come out only in such discussion.
Discussions. Awesome. So we'll have more conversations on Valmiki Ramayan going ahead because Ramnavami is approaching. So please stay tuned with us for more Valmiki Ramayan and discussions related to Valmiki Ramayan. So we'll end at this note. Thank you everyone for joining. Please share, like, and subscribe. Please comment and write to us if you have any questions. We have both Ishwarji and Maheshji to answer all of your questions. Thank you so much. And please like, comment, and
And
subscribe.
if you put comments, we will definitely answer.
Yeah.
All of us,
Yes.
whoever.
Jai Sri Ram.
Jai Sri Ram. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe.